Alex Bowman once said something that stopped a lot of NASCAR fans in their tracks. After finally winning again at Chicago in 2024, he told reporters, "I broke my back, had a brain injury, and we've kind of sucked ever since." And you start to second guess if you're ever going to get a chance to win a race again. That one sentence tells you everything. A lot of fans have been asking the same question. Is Alex Bowman still the same driver he was before that crash in Texas? Or did something change inside his head that day, something you can't see on a TV screen? And that question leads to an even bigger one. Is Alex Bowman becoming the new Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Nobody is saying Bowman's career is over, but the comparison is real. Because what happened to Dale Jr. with concussions changed how we look at brain injuries in racing forever. And what's happening with Bowman right now has some very familiar patterns. Let's go back to September 25th, 2022, Texas Motor Speedway. Bowman was having a solid race, running inside the top 10. Then a right rear tire blew out. His car spun around in turn 4 and backed hard into the outside wall. If you watch the replay, you'd probably think it was no big deal. The car didn't look destroyed, it didn't flip, it looked like just another wall hit. But looks can be very, very wrong. As Bowman drove away from the wall, he got on his team radio and called it the hardest he had ever crashed anything, at any level of racing. This is a guy who has been racing since he was a teenager. And this one hit, the one that barely looked like anything on TV, was the worst he'd ever felt. And yet, Bowman kept racing. He finished 29th, 5 laps back. Most people had already forgotten about the crash by the checkered flag. But something was wrong. Bowman drove the full race that Sunday. He didn't feel great, but he pushed through. It wasn't until Thursday morning that the real symptoms hit. He was evaluated by doctors that same day in Charlotte, and the diagnosis came fast. Concussion. That same Thursday, he was ruled out of the upcoming race at Talladega. In a statement, Bowman said, "After undergoing medical evaluation due to concussion-like symptoms, I will not be driving the number 48 Alley Chevrolet in Talladega. I'm disappointed, but know my health is the #1 priority." And just like that, his season was practically over. Bowman missed 5 straight races: Talladega, the Charlotte Roval, Las Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville. 5 races in the heart of the playoffs. He was knocked out of championship contention, and Noah Gragson filled in behind the wheel. Bowman finally returned for the season finale at Phoenix, but by then, the damage to his season was already done. To really understand why that crash hurt Bowman so badly, you have to understand the car. 2022 was the first year of NASCAR's next-gen car, and from day one, drivers were saying something was wrong. The back end of the next-gen car was extremely stiff. That sounds like a good thing, right? A tough car should protect the driver, but it was actually the opposite. In the old cars, when a driver backed into a wall, the rear would crumple and break apart. That was a good thing, because all that bending was absorbing the energy of the crash. Less energy into the car meant less energy into the driver. But the next-gen car didn't do that. The back end barely moved on impact. The car would hit the wall and bounce off. It looked clean on camera. But all that force had nowhere to go except straight into the driver's body and head. Kevin Harvick, a veteran with decades of experience, was one of the first to sound the alarm. He compared the impact to getting hit with a hammer and flat out said, "The car is 100% the reason for the injuries that year." Christopher Bell said he had a headache after backing into the wall at the All-Star race. And Denny Hamlin publicly called for the car to be redesigned, tweeting that it was completely unacceptable that NASCAR let things get to that point. Bowman wasn't even the first driver to get sidelined that year. Kurt Busch backed into the wall at Pocono in July. He got a concussion too, and Kurt Busch never came back. He eventually stepped away from full-time racing for good. Bowman said it himself. "I watched the video of myself from Texas, and it looks like I barely hit anything. I can tell you, it didn't feel that way." Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR history. 2-time Daytona 500 winner. Most popular driver 15 years in a row. But his career was cut short by concussions. By his own count, Dale Jr. suffered over 20 concussions during his career. For years, he hid it. He kept a secret diary about how he felt after crashes. Monday felt dizzy. Tuesday felt drunk. Wednesday felt a little better. Then he'd go race again on the weekend. He later admitted, "I ended up accumulating about 12 concussions in a very short period of time. It got to a point to where I couldn't stand up." His symptoms got so bad he couldn't turn his head without falling over. His eyes couldn't track objects properly. He ran the first 18 races of 2016 before being sidelined after the Kentucky race in July. His symptoms were traced back to a wreck at Michigan a few weeks earlier. After treatment with Dr. Mickey Collins at the UPMC Sports Medicine Concussion Program, he came back for 2017 but retired at the end of that year. He was just 42. And here's a detail that ties this whole story together. That same Dr. Mickey Collins, the one who treated Dale Jr. and helped him get his life back, was the same doctor who treated Alex Bowman after the Texas crash in 2022. The same program. The same concussion specialist. If that doesn't tell you how serious Bowman's situation was, nothing will. Now look at Bowman's numbers. In 2021, before the concussion, he had his best season ever. 4 wins, 8 top 5s, 16 top 10s, all career highs. His average finish was 15.1. He was competing at the highest level with his Hendrick teammates. Then the Texas crash happened. He came back for the finale at Phoenix, but the damage was done. He finished 16th in points. In 2023, he started hot, even leading the points early. But then he broke a vertebra in a sprint car crash and missed 3 more races. And here's a spooky detail. Dale Jr.'s career-changing injury was traced back to a wreck at Michigan in the summer. Bowman's second major injury, the broken back, also happened during that same spring and summer stretch. Different years, different injuries, but the same cruel timing. He never found his rhythm after that. 0 wins, just 10 top 10s. Average finish dropped to 17.2, finished 20th in points. In 2024, it took Bowman 80 races to finally win again. 80. His previous win had been at Las Vegas back in March 2022. When he broke through at Chicago, you could hear the relief in his voice. And even then, his playoff run ended in heartbreak at the Charlotte Roval. Bowman hit the track's large curb so hard during the race that it knocked a tungsten weight block right out of his car. He was disqualified after post-race inspection for being underweight. Which is actually an important detail, because it shows he was still pushing that car to its absolute limits. The fire was still there. His 2024 numbers did bounce back. 1 win, 17 top 10s, average finish back down to 15.2, 9th in the final points. Signs of life for sure. But still a long way from 4 wins and a career-best season. That's a clear drop-off. The question is, why? This is what makes concussions so tricky. They call it the invisible injury for a reason. No X-ray can find it. There's no cast, no scar. The effects can linger for months, even years. They change how fast you react, how you judge distance, how willing you are to push the limits. Dale Jr. described how concussions affected his balance, his vision, and his ability to process what was happening at 200 miles per hour. In this sport, a split second is the difference between winning and wrecking. Bowman himself admitted the mental toll was real. He said, after 2 back-to-back bigger injuries, it's easy to get in that spot of questioning yourself. He talked about needing to prove he could still compete, still win, still belong in that 48 car. Now, it's important to be fair. There are other reasons Bowman's numbers dipped. He got a new crew chief in Blake Harris before 2023. He had that broken back on top of the concussion. The competition is as tough as ever. But the pattern is hard to ignore. Before the concussion, Bowman was winning multiple races a year. After it, he went through long stretches where he couldn't find that same speed, that same edge. Dale Jr.'s story changed NASCAR forever. It forced the sport to take brain injuries seriously. Bowman's 2022 crash did something similar, forcing NASCAR to acknowledge the next-gen car's problems. But the bigger question isn't about the car. It's about the driver inside it. When Bowman radioed his team from Texas and said it was the hardest hit of his life, that moment may have changed his career in ways we're still trying to understand. The invisible injury doesn't show up in crash replays, but it can quietly reshape everything about a driver. Their confidence, their reflexes, their willingness to go for a gap at 190 miles per hour. And once that changes, it's the hardest thing to get back. Is Alex Bowman the new Dale Jr.? Maybe not in the worst-case sense. He's still racing. He still won at Chicago. He made the playoffs. But the echoes are there. The delayed diagnosis. The missed races. The same doctor treating both of them. The same cruel summer timing for their worst injuries. The long road back. The honest admission that he wondered if he'd ever win again. Those are the same chapters from Dale Jr.'s story, just written in a different hand. And the scariest part? With concussions, sometimes you don't know the full story until years later.